Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Jalen, and today I'm giving my initial impressions and pros and cons of the new Kindle Scribe after using it for roughly a week. I am a huge Kindle buff, I would say. I tend to e-read almost every single night. I e-read on my phone on the go, on the Kindle app. I just use it as another way of sort of mixing formats as I tend to read a lot, as I have a book channel. And I feel like I'm pretty well versed in the Kindle lineup, and so I wanted to give my initial impressions, what I'm making of this device, whether I think it's worth the money, pros and cons, and final, I guess, thoughts on it as of using this for 1 week. And I definitely have thoughts on it, so let's just dive into it. If you are unaware of what the Kindle Scribe is, it is the brand new premium Kindle device that is 10.2 inches and now has a pen that goes with it that you can use to mark up your books as you're reading, including PDFs. And there's also some note-taking capability in terms of having notebooks in here, of just being able to write on the device itself, which is a first for the Kindle lineup. And so I myself, I am not a huge annotator, I must say. I've recently been getting into writing in my books. For a while, I didn't like to do that really at all, but then I sort of got over that like 2 years ago. And gradually I've been using it more and more to mark up my books, as now I have a podcast called Reading the Room in which I interview a lot of authors. And so I like to take notes now while I'm reading to go back and try to think of questions and be able to have my thoughts ready for when I'm interviewing authors. And so the reason why I bought the Kindle Scribe was for two reasons. One being that I've always wanted a bigger Kindle device. This is, as I mentioned, 10.2 inches, and so it's the largest screen that's ever been on a Kindle. I tend to just like big devices. I have an iPhone Pro Max. I just like having more real estate to kind of use it in the way that I would want to, depending on my mood. As I said, I'm very like all over the place in terms of whether I want small text versus big text. And then, as I mentioned, as I've been getting more into annotating now that I have my podcast, I wanted to be able to mark up e-galleys or other ebook versions that I tend to get in advance from publishers to then be able to go back and have my thoughts on the go and have them all in one place. Those are my two use cases for this Kindle. I have had a Paperwhite in the past and an Oasis. I actually still own them, but I'm trading in my Oasis to get this. The Oasis was their premium model, and now this is a premium model. And they had a really good deal in terms of giving, I believe it was 20% off and a $50 gift card if you traded in your Oasis to get this. And so I got, I think, roughly $100 off of this one. So it was a no-brainer for me. And so yeah, I think I'm going to also keep my Paperwhite for travel, but I'm actually really loving this Scribe. So I might not use the Paperwhite as much as I think I would, but this little small form factor is like really incredible for travel. So I guess we'll see on that front. But I ended up getting the burgundy leather cover, and I'm going to return this because I don't love the color. I thought I would, but there's also a premium green leather version that's like my favorite color. And so I saw this, it came sooner than the green version, which I think is coming later this week. It was back ordered, I believe, and I want the green version. So I'm going to send this back, but I will say, I think for my own use case that one of these covers is absolutely vital for me, as I like to prop up the device using the magnetic backing here. So it allows you to attach it here, and you can read either in this way, or you can also lay it flat. And then it changes orientation of the Kindle as well, which is super helpful. So I've taken this to a bar, I've taken it to coffee shops, and being able to prop it up and not have to lean over or hold the Kindle is just a game changer for me. It's a very small, minor thing, but I would say that's probably my favorite aspect of this Kindle, is having a huge screen, being able to prop it up in places, and be able to, yeah, have that flexibility. Being able to also write on it, both setups, is really, really helpful. I'm actually not sure if there are cases for the Paperwhite or Oasis that do a similar thing, but I think the propping up of the Kindle with the bigger screen also gives some more flexibility for bigger font, less page turning. It's just really great in that front. So I think if you're looking for a Kindle that is a bigger size, this is the biggest one that you can get. So I think the screen real estate and the quality of the display is really, really excellent. But I do have a few cons to the display, namely one con that I've noticed. So in terms of the warm lighting that is now becoming a staple of the Kindle lineup, at night when I'm reading, I tend to use the warm display feature. What I've noticed, it's probably going to be really hard to see right now, especially during the day, but what I've noticed is that on the edge with the bigger bezel, there's a little bit of a darker, greener tint to the display. So basically what I'm saying is that the warm lighting is not flush across the screen. So it has a lighter shade on this side and a subtly darker, more green shade on the right side. And so I went on Reddit and I was asking people if they had a similar issue, and they pointed me in the direction of some YouTubers that have also mentioned the same issue. And I actually ordered a replacement of this device because I thought it was potentially defective, and that one also had the issue. So Basically, I think the biggest con for me personally, it's a very minor gripe, I think, but it is something to consider, is that the warm display function has a little bit of a different tint on each side of the device. So if you don't want to see, or if that would bother you reading at night, that's something to consider. But I will say, since I've kind of learned that that's sort of just an aspect of it, having the lighting coming from this side, and I think the bezel's playing with that, I got over it. So I haven't really been thinking about it too much, but I do wish it all had a equally, warm tone to it. But that is a minor gripe, I must say. But the biggest change to the Kindle overall is this pen. And so if you're wondering how the annotating is, I will say it is mostly great, I would say. I got the version with the premium pen. So there's a basic pen and then there's a premium pen. The premium pen comes with a little button that lets you do shortcuts. So whether it's changing from a pen to a highlighter, or the best feature of it, I think, which I'll get to in a moment. And then also there's an eraser where you press down on the screen and you can erase your notes. On most files, such as EPUB files, you cannot actually just write on the screen. What you have to do is either make a highlight to the text, which you're still capable of doing, as you would on a normal Kindle, and then adding a note, and then it gives you a little handwritten box so you can add a note. But aside from that, there's also a toolbar that I've hidden for reasons I will get into. There's a writing toolbar on the side that lets you switch between notes and then just finger functions with the pen. So you can switch to note and then tap. It gives you a little box to make a note. However, I am very particular about my display when I'm reading, as you can probably tell. And for a while, I thought that little button was always going to be there. It does not need to be. You can remove it in the settings. And then so now you just have a regular text on your screen. And I had a little bit of a panic moment because I was like, well, how am I going to just add notes by tapping? Which made me think that you needed to have that little button. And I was like, well, I'm going to send this back because I don't want that on my screen. But that's why this premium pen is really beneficial, because you can switch the shortcut function on this little button. So this little button here, you can switch it to where you can hold down on the button and then tap anywhere on the screen. And then it gives you the note function. So you can remove that ugly little button as well. So I would say that the premium pen is worth it for that alone. And then also the eraser is a really nice function as well. It's a small premium to pay, but I do think it is worth it, especially if this is going to be your Kindle for a long time. But I will say the writing itself is incredibly responsive and it sounds really nice. I kind of like, I'll hold it up to my microphone. I kind of like that sound. I could see it also bothering some people. And the actual writing itself is really nice. I'm not sure what the term is, but it adds some correctiveness to your handwriting. So it kind of smooths it out. So it always looks as pretty as it can be. So it's definitely prettier than my handwriting. You can argue with me and say that it's not pretty, but yeah, it's really, really nice. And then also in terms of having these notes, they're included in the annotation notebook section. So in addition to all of your highlights, as you normally would have on a Kindle, you also have your written notes. And then if they're corresponding to any particular highlighted phrase or passage, they'll also be tied to that as well. And then I'll also give you a quick peek at some of the notebook functions. So you can add a notebook, and they have a bunch of different types of lining that you can do. So there's also to-do lists, calendars, and then standard notebook lining as well. So I'll give you an example of like the to-do list. And so you can quickly add a to-do list and you can cross things off once you get them done. It's really cool to have an essentially limitless notebook in here and to reduce paper. And so yeah, I've been using this for 1 week, and overall I would say this is my favorite Kindle that I've ever owned. Time will tell of whether I'm going to end up also getting rid of my Paperwhite. It's kind of interesting using this now after using the Scribe for a week, but this feels so tiny, but it is very cute and palm-sized. So yeah, those are my initial impressions of the Kindle Scribe. I think the pros of this are if you're looking for a bigger display and you want warm lighting on that display and you also want to be able to annotate your books. I think if you're looking for any of those things, I would definitely recommend the device. I do not think it's perfect though. I do think that in future models, they need to fix the lighting on the display. And I'd be curious if anyone's watching this and they have a Kindle Scribe, are you noticing the different shading of the device, particularly at night? Because I'm wondering if it's sort of universal given the design of this product, or if it's something that is defective in certain displays. I would love to know that. And I've seen some complaints about not being able to actually mark directly onto certain Kindle documents. But for me, I wouldn't want to actually mark up the page itself. I really like that it allows you to take handwritten notes, but then just hides them behind the document. I wouldn't want to actually mark up documents, but I know for certain PDFs, you can actually mark them up on this device. I just haven't tried it yet myself. For me and my purposes of just general note-taking, kind of chill, just reading fiction and making notes about it, this is a perfect device in my opinion. I really like the backing and how thin the device is. It just feels really good in the hand, even though it is a bigger and heavier device. I love how it feels and holds in the hand. I kind of like a weightier device too, so I don't mind that at all. But I guess I'll give a final comparison between this and the Paperwhite. So here's like a rough difference between the current Paperwhite, or the latest Paperwhite, and the Scribe. Huge difference. And so for me, this screen alone was the reason why I bought it. But all the extra perks, including putting it on a table, having the writing capability, all of that, I really love it as well. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something about the Kindle Scribe, please consider giving me a like, consider subscribing, leaving me a comment. And until next time, I will catch you all in the next one.